Green Cleaning webinar called Learn from the Leaders. We are excited to have two great presenters and two great programs to share with you all today. So a little bit about what we're doing before we get to the actual meat. I just want to let you know, if you want to be part of the conversation, join us. You can follow us on Twitter. You can tweet Green Clean 2013 during or after the presentation. We will get to your questions. So this, while we're having the webinar now, the conversation will continue. A little logistics. We have scheduled 1 hour for this webinar. We will have a recording available by the end of the week up on our website with the presentations downloadable. So do not worry, you will be able to get a copy of that. And finally, just to make sure that we can do a better job at scheduling and preparing these webinars, there will be a very short survey when you leave. Please take a moment and just to kind of give us a little bit of your thoughts. It'll help us with the webinars we do tomorrow. Finally, sorry about that. Finally, at the end, we will have a Q&A session. So we expect about 35-40 minutes or so of presentations, and afterwards we'll have our Q&A. So if you have any questions at any point, chat your questions through the question box at the lower right-hand side, and we will then go through the questions at the end. So please, just get your questions out as soon as you have one. So a little bit about today's speakers before we go through in details, but I am Mark Bishop, Vice President of Policy and Communications with Healthy Schools Campaign. In addition to me, we have Pat Pizzo, the Administrator for Operations at East Meadow School District, as well as Alan Rudd, the Director of Custodial Services at Temple University HSC, which is not Healthy Schools Campaign, Health Sciences Center. So, all right, so just a little bit of more background about Healthy Schools Campaign. We are a not-for-profit. We're based in Chicago. We're we're based in Chicago, but we are nationally minded. And we work on this intersection of health and environment in the school setting, and we have the common sense notion that a healthy child is going to be a more successful student, and we have a responsibility of making sure the school environment is healthy from the minute they walk into the building and in what they take home from school as well. We published the Quick and Easy Guide to Green Cleaning in Schools. We originally published it in 2006, and since then we have distributed over 125,000 copies across the country and to every continent except for Antarctica. And we use this to engage, educate our stakeholders, as well as host other information to make sure people have tools and resources to create greener, healthier, more sustainable learning environments for all of our kids. And just so you know, we work with a host of national partners to make sure we're getting the information out about green cleaning, partnering with our friends at the teacher unions, at the school administrators, and other education, health, and environmental leaders across the country. So just before, now we're all going to hear about green cleaning, but we like to start by saying, how do we talk about green cleaning? And we very simply define green cleaning as cleaning to protect health without harming the environment. And we believe this is very important, and we are very deliberate upon the order of this, because the number one thing that we think cleaning is for is about protecting health. And whatever we do, the number one thing that we want to prioritize is the health of the occupants and the workers. And then green cleaning, above and beyond protecting health, it is about them preserving the environment, both the indoor environment, when we talk about making sure we have healthy indoor air and making sure that we have healthful environments for learning and for working, but also the broader environment and making sure that our environmental footprint is as small and sustainable as possible. And the reasons why we care about green cleaning, we like to summarize them into 5 key areas, and you can probably add another 5, but this is how we frame it. One is to help students stay healthy and learn, because we want to make sure students are in the classroom doing what they need to do, and that's become educated citizens, and allow schools to do what they are responsible for, and that's educating their children. 2, it protects the health of our custodial staff. We think as the frontline health workers in our schools, we have a responsibility of protecting our custodial staff and making sure that they have healthful work environments. 3, it helps increase the lifespan of our facilities, because if we are going to be investing in schools, We have to make sure we're investing in a way that sustains our schools over the long term and making sure that we have buildings that run and operate efficiently. Third, fourth, preserving the environment. We want to make sure we're leaving a healthy tomorrow for our kids. And finally, you might be hearing this from our speakers today, but fiscal responsibility. Green cleaning is more than just about health. It's also about using our resources efficiently and using them in ways that allows us to run our schools efficiently and cost effectively. Now, having said that, we're going to get to our first speaker, Pat Pizzo. Before we do, we're going to make sure everyone's awake today. So we're going to ask you, we're going to take a quick poll question. So what do you hope from today's webinar? Take a few moments and answer the question, and I'm going to introduce Pat. So Pat is currently the Administrator for Operations for the East Meadow School District. Since 2008, Pat has led a department of 117 people in supporting the goals of East Meadow District, where innovation and success are fostered through collaboration and open discourse. These strategies have resulted in a successful, recognized green cleaning program. He works with teachers, parents, administrators, and community groups to share the goals and objectives of the district to benefit the district students. Pat holds an MBA from Long Island University and is pursuing a doctorate of educational leadership. He's also an instructor for the recently launched School Facility Management Program at Hofstra University School of Continuing Education. He's a wealth of information, and I also like to consider him a friend. So having said that, let's quickly see the answer to the poll question. Number one, what do you hope to learn from today's webinar? It looks like over half said, we hope to share best practices for a green cleaning program. Second, bringing new ideas to my school. Well, I think our speakers, Pat and Ellen, are both going to share best practices, and hopefully we'll share a whole host of new ideas for everyone. I'm sure that we're going to accomplish those two goals. So, Pat, the floor is now yours.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Again, I'm Pat Pizzo, Administrator for Operations for East Meadow Public Schools and a lecturer for Hofstra University. Thank you for joining us today. Next slide, please. Why have we chosen a comprehensive sustainable program in East Meadow Schools? Because our program is more effective than a traditional program while costing less. Our program is also green. Through careful evaluation and change in process, a green program is more effective in all areas for which facilities need to be concerned. Next slide, please. We meet the highest standards for efficiency, financial impact, health, and indoor environmental quality. Our program is in place now and has been for several years. To get to this point, we established a baseline several years ago and evaluated all aspects of our industry. But ultimately, to achieve the goal of a sustainable environment, the problem must be defined first. We determined that there were 4 components to be quantified. Next slide, please. The illustration displays our requirements for a product or procedure to be considered for use by East Meadow Schools. All 4 of these components have the same level of importance. Any new item must exceed the performance of the previous used item to be a procedure or product incorporated into our program. Each one of these 4 components is important to a comprehensive, sustainable program. Any item that generates a cost savings must meet all of our requirements, including efficacy, efficiency, and whether the product is truly green, and the impact on our building occupants. Next slide, please. We look at our program as a departure from the initial behavior of traditional facilities departments. Traditionally, the focus was only on efficacy. Products need to work. But with budget constraints, efficiency became a substantial factor. Therefore, what are the financial impacts of a product or system? After concerns regarding the impact of products on our students became better known several years ago, our program began to evolve to using the greenest methods possible. The impact on indoor environmental quality is vital. To accurately identify the true cost of a program, all information must be part of the analysis. Next slide, please. Each one of these pillars has importance, beginning with efficacy, because ultimately the products need to work effectively. In a traditional model, cleaning and disinfecting is the primary concern. How can this be effectively addressed? The answer is there's more to cleaning than using the strongest chemical possible. Process change is key. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, traditionally, chemical odors were equated with effective cleaning. This is incorrect. For true efficacy, your cleaning staff needs to disinfect as directed, clean the surface first, avoid chemicals when possible, and understand the problems associated with the overuse of disinfectants. Petrochemicals are almost always not necessary and should be avoided when alternatives are available. Custodial staffs must use the correct methods of cleaning to produce the best result possible. Process is a large component of the results achieved. Next slide, please. The next challenge is how can we meet our efficacy standards at a lower cost? As our focus changed, we set out to maintain our efficacy standard, but to accomplish this at a lower cost. We examined several options, adding only methods that were both effective and able to accomplish tasks at a lower cost, examining both the cost of a product and its impact on procedures. Methods that we have used include new procedures and equipment which eliminate the need for chemicals. Next slide, please. The understanding of cost savings need to include more effective solutions for lighting. LED lighting provides approximately a 78% savings on utility costs, but the impact on labor also needs to be quantified as LED lights last about 10 times as long as conventional lighting in exterior applications. Savings on labor is substantial when the reduction in labor is analyzed as a component of the cost for a conversion. Next slide, please. Some of the cost savings realized through improved process and equipment include reduction in the use of stripper, which is a harmful chemical not appropriate for school use. Through our program, we have completely eliminated the use of stripper for all floor surfaces. This has been accomplished by use of a square pad scrubber instead of a conventional scrubber and chemicals. Also, green wax can be scrubbed with a conventional machine using a black pad and water. Again, no chemicals. We have reduced the amount of wax we purchase each year by over 49%. Savings are achieved through our change in process, attributed in large part to the fact that green wax is not yellow and the base coat only needs to be removed after 3 years. This reduces our product and labor cost each summer since we only need to scrub and recoat as opposed to removing all wax. Baseboard cleaner has been almost completely eliminated as we no longer have heavy buildup associated with wax from the old system. Buffing chemicals have been eliminated as our corridor terrazzo floors are maintained in a chemical-free fashion through the use of our diamond pad system. To reshine with a diamond pad system, a finer grip pad is used with water, which needs to be done less often than required for traditional buffing systems. Next slide, please. Our reduction in window cleaning product cost is over 77% as we currently use ionized water for this function. We also have achieved a small savings on paper products through better dispensers which contain recycled paper. A switch from leasing treated dust mops to purchasing washable microfiber mops resulted in savings of over 10%. Next slide, please. Organic treatments for use on fields can also result in the cost savings for a district. While upfront costs during a conversion from a traditional system to an organic system are, in the first year, roughly cost neutral, as the program is fully implemented, a savings will be achieved. By year 3, we estimate a savings to be generated of about 24.3% by the 3rd to 5th year. The reason for the reduction in cost is that organic treatments treat the soil, while traditional products are designed to eliminate everything but the grass. All of these cost savings are derived from the actual process we use on our fields in East Meadow as compared to a comparable traditional program. Next slide, please. When a sustainable program is implemented in a comprehensive manner, the change in cost can be extreme in a very positive manner. Next slide, please. Here's a brief view of what we have achieved. This slide has been updated to reflect our current yearly savings. As the in reduced volume of supplies needed through labor savings and from cost avoided due to a more effective process. In all, we estimate that our program now produces a total savings of over $330,000 per year. Next slide, please. There are other means of achieving savings for a district. Some we have employed are performance bonds, which can help a district move rapidly in the correct direction at a cost which is then recouped through savings achieved. Another option would be to complete many of the items that can be achieved on a performance bond through an effective in-house preventative maintenance program as we have done. The best method for us has been to complete as many tasks with our in-house staff as possible and use performance bonds for larger tasks which do not reoccur short term. Next slide, please. What is most important is the impact on students we serve, and therefore what impact does a healthy school environment have according to experts. Next slide, please. As stated by Frumkin, Geller, Rubin, and Nodvin in 2006, a safe and healthy school environment does more than benefit student health. It also improves academic performance and morale. It does more than protect students. It also safeguards teachers and staff. Next slide, please. We believe the condition of the physical environment has an impact on students in several ways. And here is a quote which examines that point. IEQ factors, in turn, could influence health outcomes of students or teachers, which could influence students' performance directly or through effects on attendance or through impaired teaching. IEQ factors might also influence performance through discomfort or distraction or through thermal, visual, or acoustic, or olfactory effects that reduce performance. Next slide, please. Okay, here's our current paradigm in East Meadow schools. Student health is paramount. The risks have been identified. Energy efficiency is needed to address potential budget shortfalls. Superior products need to be demanded from vendors. Labor costs must be managed wisely. Productivity cannot be wasted. Lighting products which last longer decrease labor and create opportunities for savings. Next slide, please. And going forward, we have identified this acronym to explain our goals moving forward. Learn everything you can about green cleaning and technology, then implement the plan. Evaluate the plan for strengths and weaknesses. Acquire the input of all stakeholders, including teachers, staff, and the public. Formalize procedures so everyone is on the same page. Remember, there are always new inventions which may amend your plan. So in closing, I'd like to thank you and wish everyone luck with their programs. And remember, an effective green cleaning program saves money and protects the health of our students. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Pat, so much. I know there are going to be a lot of questions, and I know I have questions too that we want to learn more from all of your experience. Having said that, I'm going to introduce our second speaker today, Alan Rudd. But before I do so, I'm going to let's take another poll question. So we've got another question for the audience. What is the biggest barrier to starting a green cleaning program from your perspective? So take a moment to answer that question, and let me introduce Alan. Alan Rudd is the Director of Custodial Services at Aramark Temple University Health Sciences Center. He has been in the business for over 38 years, 30 of which were in healthcare and most recently in higher education. He is a certified healthcare environmental services professional and individual certification expert. He was a sergeant in the United States Marine Corps and has a degree in management from St. Joseph's University. Married with 4 kids, 3 grandchildren. His hobby is cooking. So I'd like to really quickly, before we introduce, I would also like to say that I would like to consider Alan my friend, good man, and a wealth of information. So let's really quickly see what people say. What is the perception of the biggest barriers to starting a green cleaning program? Number 1, resistant staff and leadership. And second, the challenges of switching to new products and equipment. So I think that is a theme that we hear repeatedly, and I know Alan has a lot of experience with that. So Alan, I'm going to give you the floor, and look forward to hearing your your presentation.
Thanks so much, Mark. I appreciate that. Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. Thanks for joining in. Again, my name is Alan Rudd, and I'm with the Aramark Corporation, and I'm stationed here at Temple University on their Health Sciences campus, and we've been here since 2007. We run a fairly large operation. We have 39 FTEs for 1.5 million square feet. That's about 990,000 cleanable. And we started our blue cleaning program back in 2011, and it's created a lot of success, or as we say, a strong, healthy, high-performance cleaning program as it relates to custodial services. Next slide, please. What I'd like to do, you'll find there's a lot of synergy in some of the things that Pat just mentioned, and I'll mention that briefly periodically through my presentation because the technology kind of speaks for itself. But as you can see from this slide, we like to let you guys know how we go beyond green into blue cleaning with the use of the EAW, or electrically activated water process, which we consider most environmentally responsible when it comes to cleaning. Next slide, please. So now I want everybody to imagine all of the things that you won't have to worry about. Imagine no cleaning chemical odors, which we know is always something that we deal with environmentally. No volatile organic compounds, no chemical use, no chemical waste, no packaging waste, transportation emissions, and more importantly, no chemical residue on the surfaces that you maintain. And that's what blue cleaning represents overall, and that's why we're so successful here at Temple. Next slide, please. One of the things that I see you guys mentioned in the survey was a high percentage of resistance from the staff. And when I introduced this to our team, we sort of approached it with a 3T process: technology, training, and touch. Of course, the technology that we use here, we have the Orbio unit, which is a Tenet product, and that's the illustration of the dark-colored apparatus that you see. It holds 120 gallons of the EAW water, and we use two 46-gallon transportation units to transport the EAW across the campus to take that technology to the other buildings, because we have 12 buildings spread out up and down Broad Street here in Philadelphia. The training piece, which is how we addressed that resistance that you guys mentioned in your survey, we had to really present a very extensive training program to get folks to understand the technology and get the support and buy-in that we wanted. And as you can see in the illustration, that's really a person having the EAW squirted on their head and being cleaned with a microfiber cloth as a means to show you how safe it is and what we do environmentally when it comes to the health and wellness of our employees and the students on the campus. And then finally, touch represents getting folks engaged to eliminate some of that resistance, and even the students who we serve being involved with the process and understanding what's happening around them. Next slide, please. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, the EAW, electrically activated water process, is basically a electrolysis scientific process that creates water passes through an electrified screen to create an energetic solution that's infused with microbubbles that go through something called electroporation. That breaks down the cells, and the electric charge goes through a steady stream of what we call blended stream technology and comes out as a highly charged acidic and alkaline water that eventually changes into an effective cleaning solution. Next slide, please. Okay, let's start with the first T, technologies. We use the electrically activated water, as I discussed, but before we adopted that, we were already using the technology through our scrubbing machines. So our employees, the learning curve was a little bit less tedious because they saw the results of what the guys did with the floor machines by putting water into the machines and it creating such a wonderful job in maintaining the floors. Like Pat, we went to the microfiber system, and one of the things that got the employees' attention was rolled their old carts into an area, and we started taking off all the things that they were used to using, the mop bucket, the mops, all of the chemicals. And so we got their attention because they were wondering, okay, well then what are we going to clean with? And then we transferred in the microfiber technology, which those tools are a lot less physically demanding. They already knew about the EAW, so that's the reduction in the chemical usage. And that's when folks started to become motivated because they see the benefit of the technology, the tools that they use, and how much safer and environmentally friendly it is overall. Now, of course, the surface power pads, similar to what Pat mentioned, these pads are utilized without any chemicals or with just EAW and no residue from strippers or detergents or things of that nature, and the guys love it, and the results are probably more positive than they were when we're using all those chemicals. And then as you can see in that illustration, that's one of my employees using the self-activated ionized water handheld unit, or ionator as we call it, and that's what she's using to clean the surfaces and kill the bacteria in that lobby area in the medical school here on our campus. The future for us is to look at taking EAW to the next level. We're actually going to look at the Ecolab technology. They have a unit called a hydrous unit that actually turns water into a disinfectant, which would further reduce our chemical usage and from a healthcare perspective have something just as safe without all of the high pH and caustic chemicals that you use when it comes to using the disinfectants and germicides. Next slide, please. Okay, second T, training. We talked about the resistance that you guys mentioned, and it was definitely a culture shock for the employees. There was a lot of non-believers. You know, you're talking about folks who have been cleaning for 20-plus years. This is a union environment, so whenever you introduce change to a union, you have to be very on point at what you're introducing, because folks have experience, they know what's going on, and so there was a lot of extension to bringing them into the process. The operational changes, when we started to use it, they started to see the results of using the EAW, and it turned out to be more positive and less resistance as we moved forward. And now I don't think we could have them use anything else. It certainly simplified the paperwork that goes with using all those different chemicals, keeping up with MSD. You'll have less to track, even with the new systems that are being implemented by law. And the closets where we maintain our tools and our chemicals, they have more space. They're a lot neater to maintain our SIMS standards, and you don't have the chemicals to worry about. So the employees are really on board and loving the results. We created those believers because they've seen the results of what the floors look like after they clean, the surfaces that they're taking care of. We had huge success with carpet care maintenance because stain removal is a big challenge when it comes to carpet care. And using the chemicals or the spotting kits is good, but what we found to be better was the EAW water was a better tool even than the chemicals that we were using before. And if you think about it, you're not putting chemicals into the carpet, so it's the maintenance process of removing stuff is a lot more effective. Next slide, please. And then there's the final T, the touch, where we get people engaged and we educate and we communicate across the campus and within our own infrastructure. I actually go down to Temple's main campus. They have a facilities degree program where I actually go and teach and introduce the students in that program some of the new and innovative technologies that they would be dealing with once they graduate and come out into the field. And we actually offer an internship, so some of them actually get to work with us through the summer, and we get to share the technology. They get to use it, learn it, understand it, and when they go back to school, they have something to boast about as they talk to their fellow peers in the classroom. As far as communication, aside from us doing our normal MBWA, which is management by walking around and talking to our customers and getting engaged, Temple has a lot of flat screens around the campus, and they've advertised our blue cleaning technology on those flat screens, as you can see in the illustration. And then there's the sustainability partnership where we partnered with Temple. I actually sit on their committee with my assistant director, Mike Ross, and we are very much a part of their strategic initiatives as it relates to sustainability in their climate action plan, etc. Next slide, please. The impact that this has had on Temple has been very positive, both economically, operationally, and environmentally. We've reduced our supply cost by over 52%. It's probably greater than that now. We've minimized our supply cost by 45%. The employee and campus health situation has been much improved. We have students who had allergic issues and respiratory problems that don't exist anymore because we're using EAW. We even had a student who bragged to their parents about how they're not concerned. They're in the library and the housekeepers are cleaning around them, and it's a non-issue because the EAW is much better than the impact from the chemicals that we used to use. And as I mentioned earlier, from a safety perspective and maintaining the paperwork regarding your chemicals, it's much more simplified when it comes to that record keeping. And the space where we keep things is a lot easier to maintain. We have more space to be more safe, and because we have less chemicals, our inventory has decreased. And of course, then there's the education. I actually had a student make this statement when I was doing the classes. He said technology solutions are cool. Never have they been cool until he learned about EAW. So I thought that was a real positive statement coming from that next generation. Next slide, please. Health, wellness, and safety, as well as the environment, is what we focus on when it comes to how we maintain this campus. And as I said before, the exposure to the potentially harmful chemicals pretty much has been eliminated, and these are the things that usually are affected by it. You know, the allergies, the asthma, which is a big one, the chemical burns from caustic chemicals that have a high pH, etc., the eye injuries when something spills in your eye, the odors when you strip the floors, and the respiratory issues from stripping floors. None of those exist with the assistance of the EAW technology. And also, it helps improve the floor traction to reduce slips, trips, and falls. And that was something that really went over big with the floor guys and the folks in the areas where we service, because they noticed it doesn't affect the finish, but it does a great job cleaning. Next slide, please. I thought I'd put this up for everybody to see how widespread Aramark is in implementing this blue cleaning process. And that was back in last year when I built this. It's probably more blue now than it was when we created this slide presentation. But as you can see, it's growing, and the effectiveness is really getting a lot of good publicity because it's real positive results. Next slide, please. Okay, in conclusion, the innovation that we've introduced this campus to is basically supported by the quantifiable economics. That goes without saying. The employees, the campus health and the wellness, and the environmental impact has been extremely positive. Our commitment to sustainability is outstanding, and Temple and Aramark have partnered to achieve at a level that folks are now starting to come and view and look at our best practices. And of course, the campus engagement has been enormous. I must admit, I had a little bit of a lot of laboratories on this campus, so there's a lot of biotechs and technical folks that work in those areas who knew about the technology but never seen it in action, so they kind of helped us get folks engaged by supporting what they learned when they were getting their degrees in biochemistry, etc. And as you can see in the illustration on their flat screens, the presentation says, "Ask the campus experts." And that's me and my assistant director, Mike Ross. And believe it or not, we get quite a few calls all the time when folks look at that to question the technology or either to want to introduce it to someone else. Next slide, please. So I really appreciate everyone letting me share this with you guys. As you can see in the illustration, I'd be remiss if I didn't show you guys the Green Cleaning Award that we received last year through AS&U magazine, and we probably will be entertaining that same award somewhere in the near future when we take the EAW technology to another level. But I really do appreciate your time. Thanks for listening, and if there's time for questions, I'll answer what I can. Thank you much.
Great. Thank you so much, Alan. We really appreciate your time. And so for all those in attendance, if you haven't picked up on this, both Pat and Alan are past award winners of the American School and University Green Cleaning Award. So we hope that if you are interested and if you know a school or if you have a school that is implementing the Green Cleaning Program, you should download the application and consider applying. The application is located on ASU Magazine, asumag.com, Green Cleaning Awards. Applications are due in early September, so we hope we're able to get your application in. If you're not a school, if you're a distributor, you can apply on behalf of a school that you're working with. So by all means, get your application in. Now, looks like we've got a number of questions and looks like we have some time. So I'm going to hand this over to my colleague, Alex Scheibel, who's going to go through the questions and answer all the questions. Remember, if you have any other questions, feel free at any point to type them into the lower part of your screen, and we will try to make time to get to all of the questions here today.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you to Pat and Alan for great presentations. We've had a lot of questions come in. Please feel free to keep sending them in. We have a little over 20 minutes for questions, so we should be able to get to most of them. And also, I just wanted to restate, a number of people have asked if the slides are going to be posted after the webinar, and they will be posted on our website. You'll get an email by the end of the week with a link to the slides and also a recording of the webinar, so you can download them there. Okay, so first question came in for Pat from somebody wanting to know if you can speak a little bit more about some of the key products that you use. You mentioned a couple, but I think a few people wanted to know just some of the specific products that you're using in your program.
Okay, what we try to do is we try to kind of link things together. It's product and process. So we use, for instance, diamond pads for the terrazzo floors. So that eliminates, once you get down to the raw terrazzo, that eliminates stripper and wax. I mentioned ionized water. Ionized water we use, it's a different system than Alan mentioned, but we have handheld ionizers that we use in place of glass cleaners. We also look at different products for disinfecting. There's a product, Pure Green 24, which is a product that's used for disinfecting, which is a lot safer product to use than maybe some of the traditional products. I don't want to mention any product in a negative way, but I will say that Pure Green 24 is a positive solution. There's also different disinfectants that use Thymol as an active ingredient. There are several of those, and Thymol is a food additive actually, but it's used for cleaning, not quite to the level of a disinfectant, but it does use. It can be used as a cleaner, can be used as a hand sanitizer, also in waterless applications for high-touch areas. So yeah, it's kind of a quick overview.
Great, thanks. And a related question for Alan. Alan, could you speak about the non-water products that you're using in your program?
Non-water products?
Yeah, so you mentioned that you've reduced your chemical usage. You had a slide that mentioned you'd reduced your chemical usage, but are there some products that you're still using that don't use the EAW technology?
Well, we pretty much have eliminated most of the chemicals. We do have a small inventory of chemicals for the sole purpose of situations where when you go to use the EAW, it may just not be quite enough or have enough strength to eliminate the soil that you're dealing with, especially when it comes to greasy agents and oily agents. You know, we got a lot of labs, and we have a gross anatomy section where they use certain chemicals when studying the human body. But for the most part, the bowl concentrate that we use for restroom cleaning, we still have a small inventory of that. There are still some areas where we use a stripper, but eventually that will be eliminated completely. The all-purpose cleaner still hangs around for the same reasons that I mentioned, but I have to say about 85% of what we do is centered.
Alan, are you still there?
Still here.
Oh,
okay, it cut out right when you said 85% of what we do.
What I was saying was 85% of what we do is done with the EAW, and it's very little that we do with the chemicals, so that's why we keep such a small inventory, and it's only when we absolutely have to go there. We start out with the EAW technology in most of everything that we do.
Great, okay, thank you. And a related question is people want to know how you deal with bloodborne pathogens.
Well, we still are using a dual quaternary disinfectant. It's an Ecolab product that they manufacture specifically for Aramark. It's called Sandymaster 4. But there is technology coming out. Ecolab has created what they call an hydrous unit, and the hydrous unit has the ability to take the EAW technology and put out a disinfecting agent. So when I said earlier the next level of EAW for us would be to look at that kind of technology, that's where we're going. That's probably the most used chemical that we have now that's very high pH and caustic that we'd like to eliminate if the industry provides something, and they finally have. So when it comes to bloodborne pathogens and infection control maintenance, we're still using the disinfectant until we adopt the hydrous technology.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Can I mention something on that as well?
Please go for it.
Yes, yeah. There are the problem is with bloodborne pathogen is with the kill claim. So, but there are some products. I agree absolutely with what Alan's saying. There are some options on the horizon. I think really short term, really the focus with bloodborne pathogens really has to be to limit those used to disinfectants that have the kill claim against hepatitis. But there is a Tylenol product that we're optimistic that we'll be able to make that kill claim soon, but there are limits. Pure Green 24 can't make the kill claim either yet. We use that for disinfecting, except for when we're dealing with a blood-related issue.
And if I could just jump in real quick, I mean, a big part of what we say currently a Healthy Schools campaign about disinfection is not just about the product that you're using, but you have to look at it in 3 parts. You have to look at education of your occupants. You have to talk to people about how they're coughing, they're sneezing, and the second thing is you have to really look at hand hygiene, because one of the biggest things we have to do is make sure we're preventing the spread of the disease. And the third thing that we have to do is then look at the procedure and the product that we're using. So the product that we're using is just one piece of an overall strategy that you need to implement for an effective and more sustainable disinfection program.
Great. Thank you so much. And the next question is for Pat. From somebody wanting to know how you got buy-in from your administrators for your green cleaning program and how you've continued to engage them and whether or not they're supportive of your program.
I'm sorry, I missed Pia's. How I was able to get what?
Sorry, how you were able to get buy-in from your school administrators.
Oh, buy-in.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that's a big challenge. What I did is when we first started our program in East Meadow, we tried to establish a baseline. And what I tried to do is to get people with all different outlooks. One of the things I advocate for is find your biggest critic and make them part of the committee. When they see up close what you're trying to accomplish, and you have successes with them as part of your team, I really like the idea of trying to take a critic and turn them around, because if you can turn around a critic, they become the biggest advocate, and we had a couple of examples of that here. But getting the word out to the public, speaking to teachers, I do the Right to Know training where I go out and speak to the teachers. I do the training myself. I wouldn't allow anyone else to do that because it's our way to have a rapport back and forth. So it's really about getting the word out and you know, bringing your critics in and hearing what they have to say, and this way you can answer their questions up close. Transparency is a big piece in this.
I agree.
Great, thank you so much. And another question for Pat. Pat, you mentioned performance bonds. Could you elaborate on what those are?
In New York, we have a performance bond is a way of doing a bond to do improvements. If you could show a payback over that the project can pay for itself over 18.5 years. So it's just a way of being able to get work done under the laws in New York State. So you could do all different projects from more efficient lighting, more efficient boilers, some other projects such as that. You will occasionally see districts do reoccurring type issues like steam traps, which I don't think is really effective for performance bonds. That was the reason why I mentioned that we pull that component out. But a school that was well behind that needed to put a program in place, that may be an option to quickly bring a school or a school district up to speed by being able to do something like that. So it may be different in other parts of the country. That's something that we do in New York.
Yeah. And this is Mark at Healthy Schools, and I think it's more commonly referred to in other parts, performance contracting. And again, performance contracting is about how you can fund energy. A big piece of it is how you can fund energy efficiency programs over a long period. And you basically capitalize your savings up front for able to get improvements in your facility down the road. So.
Great, thank you. A question for Alan. Alan, what kind of investments do you need to make in equipment to implement the EAW technology?
Well, for us, I'm actually leasing the Orbio unit from the tenant organization, so I pay an amount on a monthly basis to lease the unit. There probably will be eventually a program where you can actually buy it. As far as the floor care technology, that's tenants pretty standard with offering the H2O machines that work with that technology. But as far as the EAW is concerned, using the ionators and using the Orbio unit. The Orbio unit I lease, and the ionators, they're pretty expensive, but it's about $300, maybe $400 a piece. But that technology is fading out because of the Orbio unit and the use of being able to produce EAW in mass.
Great, thank you. And a follow-up question, we've had two people ask what product was being sprayed on the head in the slide of the picture that you showed.
That is the EAW. That's the electronically activated water, and basically it's that water coming out through the electric charge, and it comes out with enough pH in it to kill bacteria and become a cleaning agent, but extremely harmful to mankind. There's a video in the industry where they actually have a young lady who's in her kitchen with her child, and the child grabs something off the floor, and she just picks his hand up and sprays it right on his hand, and he goes right on playing, and with no fears of any harm to the child at all.
For the record, I think you meant harmless, not harmful to humans.
Yeah, I sure did. Thank you, Mark.
Great, thank you. A question for Pat. Pat, do you provide your own training to employees, or do you rely on distributors for the training?
We have distributors will make presentations, but when it comes to the training component, we wouldn't have a distributor do that. What we usually do is we'll pilot different products, and what we'll do is then we'll come up with our procedure. So we'll take information on what a vendor says is the best way to use their product, but we don't really do any kind of direct training through them. We do, in addition to the training that funnels through my office, we do have we are supported by Nassau BOCES, and to get a different voice besides mine, we'll bring in people for different aspects of training from BOCES. We deal with the executive manager of health and safety from there. So and also some of it is really kind of train the trainer, where we'll have our sustainable committee. We'll work together with head custodians, and as they come up with a best practice, they'll share it with other people, with the people who report to them within their building, and with other head custodians. So there's a lot of different ways to get the message out.
Great. And how often are you providing training to your employees?
Well, we meet on a regular basis. I have all of my head custodians were actually here earlier today. So, and that's really where we'll work on our different programs, get updates on different pilots that we have going, and then we'll meet out in the field and work on different things so people can kind of see the results and show off the results of the different pilot programs. So, at a minimum, we're together once a month, but really it's an ongoing thing, day-to-day thing, because we have multiple pilot programs going. There's always something that we can research. It's such a great time to be involved in this movement because there's new innovations coming out on a regular basis.
Great, thank you. And Alan, we had a similar question for you. You spoke a little bit about your training program in your slides, but people wanted to know if you could speak more about that program, how new employees are brought on, and ongoing training that you provide.
Well, we have a departmental orientation that the employees go through. We call that the theoretical version. That's where I tell you, and then you get to tell me, so that you can mirror back your knowledge acceptance. And then we have the second phase, which is called I show you and you show me. That's the hands-on piece where we get to practice the technology that they've learned in theory. And we don't deploy any of the new hires until they can show that kind of proficiency, because we want to make sure that when we put them out there to practice what we've introduced them to, that they are on point, know what they're doing, and could actually teach someone else. The existing staff, they go through, as Pat said, an ongoing process of learning all the time. When the managers are out there doing quality reviews and looking at the performance of the team, what they're always reiterating is the systems that we manage and the tools that we use. So that's a never-ending, ongoing process. So the combination of your introduction and then the constant reiteration of the systems that we manage is just what keeps us engaged all the time.
Great, thank you. And a question for Pat. Pat, how did you start your green cleaning program? What were some of the first things that you changed to implement the program?
Well, when I first came into East Meadow, we did have green cleaning programs in place. We have 10 different buildings we're dealing with. It was applied unevenly, and also while the products were often green, often the procedure didn't properly match the product. So what we tried to do is come up with really a baseline. Initially, the first year that we worked together with our green cleaning program, we just started out with a basic program that was maybe a little bit better than what the compliance standards are. There are requirements for green cleaning in New York. We tried to initially set up a program that was a little bit above the standards, but something that we can all work with. And then through a little bit of difference from building to building and applying things different ways, bringing in vendors, testing new products, we were able to build on that. So I really think the first step has to be have a baseline and really find the problem. And then from there, step to step, try to go in small steps a little bit better every day. Always look for a way to improve. But you have to start with that solid baseline.
Great, thank you. And a question for Alan. Alan, do you ever have college faculty that challenge how EAW works? It sounds like this person worked at a university where researchers challenged that the technology worked.
Well, yes, ma'am. As I said earlier, I did have a little bit of a ringer because there was a very large percentage of those lab techs who were biochemists and bioengineers who had heard about the technology but never seen it in action. The combination of our demonstration and their support made it a little bit less challenging for us, but we also have the ability to actually show them the technology by taking some glass containers and putting an oil-based product in the container and mixing it with water and showing you how that old saying, how oil and water mixes, and then taking that same substance and using EAW and showing them how it breaks it down and destroys the process. And once you do that and they physically see it, that's when the buy-in goes to another level.
Okay, great. Thank you. A question for Pat. Pat, do you have a written procedure for the use of abrasive pads to replace floor stripper use?
They're looking for a formalized procedure? Well, we
have. If you have anything written, I'm assuming wanting to know if it's something that you could share.
Yeah, no, there's not really, anything that we did have some, basic cleaning program that we had, but we've gone beyond that where I don't think anything would really kind of accurately describe what we do now. It's really a program that we grew into together. But that is a possibility of maybe adding that formalizing that procedure that we're already have all of our head custodians on the same page with. So that is something for us to consider.
Great. Okay, thanks. And the next question, either Alan or Pat, feel free to jump in on this one. Is cleaning with water for everyone? I know, Alan, it's worked extremely well in your program. Pat, you've used it for some specific uses as well. Is it something that you see everyone being able to use?
Yes, ma'am. I think that like anything else, you have to do your homework, and I mean, we have an operations excellence team that does all the research with what's out there in the industry, and we choose what's best for our operation and most effective. But at the end of the day, you're still just simply talking about the environment and the tools that you use to make it safe. And as far as EAW is concerned, it can be utilized in any environment that involves cleaning.
Yeah, and I'd like to well, first of all, agree with Alan, but our use of the ionized water products is a little bit more limited, but we don't have the program that Alan has. Although I've researched it, it's a great program. What we've used is ionized water for the glass cleaning, and also we have ionized water for our auto scrubbers in the hallway. So I think depending on your setup, I think there's definitely a place in it for these type of products in any program. Going a more extensive application like Alan has, that works as well. But you could have, but I do think it should at least be a piece of most programs.
And if I may jump in real quick, well, I would just also like to mention that when we see the applications come in for our Green Cleaning Award, by no means is the use of activated water requirement. We are seeing excellent programs that aren't using these programs. We're seeing that these type of products, we're seeing some programs that test them out and for various reasons may not work, mainly possibly because of the size of the facility, because of the resources of the facility. So there are definitely a lot of options that are going to work differently. There is no, from our experience, there is no one-size-fit-all cleaning program for every school out there.
Exactly. I agree with Mark.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. I think we're going to do one last question, and it's for Pat and Alan. Just wanting to know how you've engaged your broader school community in your green cleaning program. Are you communicating with them regularly? Do other staff and students know that you have this green cleaning program in place?
Well, as you saw in the slide presentation, this is Alan, the use of those flat screen TVs is a huge asset because those slides are constantly being shown to the students as they go out and about, and it creates a lot of buzz. They ask a lot of questions, and if they see the employees working in their area, they question them about what they're using because they see it physically being done. So yes, ma'am, we are always constantly communicating and educating and sharing with the students, the staff, right here in the Philadelphia community, because this campus is right smack in the North Philadelphia neighborhood, so everybody's involved, and you just can't talk about it enough because people feel so much more comfortable when they are aware of their surroundings.
Yeah, and I'd like to agree. We do a lot of things here to try to get the word out, and I think it's pretty well known in all of our schools and through the community that we're committed to sustainability and to green cleaning. I think what really helped us get the word out was a couple of years ago. We won the award for the green cleaning award that we won. That was something that really could kind of quantify what we were doing. That it was evaluated from experts, and that it was and we were seen in the positive light. I think that kind of helped us really get the word out. But it's something that you need to really perpetually try to get the word out. And that's why through the Right to Know trainings, through meeting with the PTAs on a monthly basis, through meeting with leaders in the community, you always need to reinforce and get the word out. And there's always new things you're doing, so there's always something to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I think with that, we're going to wrap it up. I just want to say one final word. For anyone who's out there who's interested in applying, check out the application at asumag.com. We would love to see you apply to expand our world of Green Cleaning Award winners. So for everyone who knows, also Pat and Alan have agreed to be on our judging panel. So they're going to help us choose the next year's finalists. So we're excited to have them part of the team. So again, thank you all so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to being engaged with you in the future. Thank you so much, and take care.